Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5 of Cruise of the Week. My name's James and I'm joined today by Bernie Carter from Atlas Ocean Voyages. Hi Bernie.
Hi James, hi everybody.
So today, well, in a previous episode actually, episode 2, we talked in depth about Atlas and gave everybody a little overview about Atlas Ocean Voyages and what that's all about. But today I think we wanted to go into a little bit more detail about one of my favourite destinations, and I know, one of the biggest expanding destinations in cruising really, which is Antarctica.
Yes,
Bernie, I know
absolutely.
you've been there quite recently. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about it.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing actually. It's you fly to Buenos Aires on the route that we did, and then we flew from there on a private charter after staying overnight down to Ushuaia, which is actually listed as being the most southerly populated part of the world. When you get to Buenos Aires, you're on the same level as Sydney and Cape Town. You fly 3.5 hours further south. You get to Ushuaia, and you sail further south for 2 days to get down to Antarctica. You get a real sense of the remoteness and the the sheer size and expanse of the continent. It's something else, and I have to say, it's one of those memories that will last with everyone that goes there for the rest of their lives.
Well, it's been told to me. I'm not actually been to Antarctica, but my parents have, for example, and they describe it, and other people have described it to me as a life-changing experience. So, is that overplaying it?
Absolutely not. And in fact, it's equally been described as like being in another world. It's so amazingly desolate, but at the same time fantastic and majestic. You've got the everything from the icebergs to, and again, icebergs. You see your first one, well, it's just game changing. But then you get to learn there are myriads of types of icebergs. So then you're on an iceberg spotting thing, and this is just when you're relaxing. You might see the odd whale here and there, but then when you get down on the zodiacs, you tend to see you get a lot closer to the wildlife, and you can have a whale breaching next to you. We regularly see the seals coming in. The penguins, I have to say, are just the most adorable creatures. They're very inquisitive. They like coming up to you. They like finding out who's on their bit of turf, and at the same time they're waddling down to the water, a bit awkward. They get in the water. They are like little lasers. They're amazing, and just being around nature so close and in front of you like that, it creates memories that are more, they're deeper than just memories. They're emotions, and you remember those emotions. And I think as well, uh, when you leave Antarctica and you look behind you as you're sailing, you almost see the Antarctic mountains closing behind you, as if to say, "Thanks for visiting. See you again soon." It's a bit
Amazing.
special.
Right. No, it sounds it. It sounds it. And which animals and which wildlife did you actually see when you were down there? What did you see personally?
So we saw whales, a few whales. We went very early in the season because we were launching the third ship in the fleet, the Voyager. So we did the inaugural, and we were on the turn between winter and spring. So we saw 3 different types of penguins: the chin strap, Gen 2s, two penguins, chin strap, and the Gen 2s. And we also saw some whales and seals. But again, when you go at different times of the season, you'll see different things. We really experienced Antarctica when it's coming out of that cold phase, and it was great to be in and around ice flows and to really see how the continent works.
Mhm.
And then, obviously, as you go further into towards Christmas and beyond, you get to see the chicks that have lost their fur, so they've then got their feathers. There's more going on. So, depending on when people can travel, there are peak times to be able to go there. But the thing is, you'll always see something.
Mhm. Okay, amazing. And just actually going and getting on the ice and getting into the middle of it, is that
Yeah.
fairly straightforward for people? Getting into zodiacs and getting off onto ice, is that quite straightforward?
It is because they do briefing sessions. So on the journey down to Antarctica, they'll do different safety briefings and different sessions on how to do this, how to do that. There is a technique to getting on and off the Zodiac. One thing I would say, don't forget your waterproof trousers because they'll be game changers. And also, do not tuck them into your boots because when you slide off the Zodiac, you generally land into the water because although the front of the Zodiac is on the ground, you've got shingle or rocks below you. And if it's a bit deeper than your boots, you're going to head off on your 300-meter hike with wet feet in the cold. So little things like that. But they give you all of the techniques and all of the, again, instruction on once the tour leaders make the path through the snow, they do that for a reason. And it's not just to make sure, it's partly because we make sure we don't destroy the environment around us. But at the same time, there are crevices around these places. So the leaders know where the crevices are. So they create the route which takes away from that. That route that's created early in the season is generally followed throughout the season by other groups that are doing that particular visit. There are so many islands and little areas to visit in Antarctica that it's good to have those little pathways already mapped out because it makes the whole process easier for everybody.
Okay, and we couldn't talk about Antarctica without talking about the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake.
Yes.
So
yes.
Come on, honestly, which was it for you?
Okay, so it's named after Sir Francis Drake, of course. It was.
This is the Drake Passage, by the way.
The Drake Passage, and it stretches across from Ushuaia down to the South Shetland Islands on the way down to Antarctica. And yeah, you know, just like the Bay of Biscay and the Bay of Lions, it has a reputation. But I would say we had one way. We had the lake, which was nice and undulating swells, very smooth, and for a sea of that size. And on the way down there, though, we had the Drake Shake. And it was, for me, very reassuring because I've been sailing on ships for 30 plus years now, various sizes. And this was the best I've ever seen any ship handle waters when they're really, you know, when they're really up and at it. We had 40-foot waves, and due to the hull design, the low profile of the ship against the water, because the wind doesn't affect it if you have a low profile, and also we have jet propulsion Rolls-Royce engines, which are able to work in sync with all of these elements, and at the same time we have, quite crucially, double the width of the stabilizers on the sides of the ship. So it was able to handle those waters very, very well. And I was genuinely surprised at how well, for a ship of that size, she took on Drake Passage.
Wow, amazing. Right. No, and obviously part of the experience as well.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we do actually do fly experiences where you fly to King George Island, 5 days in Antarctica sailing and fly back.
The Drake Bridge.
Yeah, the Drake Bridge, exactly. And, you know, we do some that are one way, we do some that are both ways. But for me, the Drake Passage is a must. It's, you know, the guys, the captains, are expert in the waters and the wind systems in that area. And they will know, for instance, you see the fronts coming in, and they'll know where to find pockets and where to navigate to get that journey in the most comfortable form for the guests. But equally, they've got full confidence, which you know you need to have in the quality of the hardware, which for me is second to none when you're going on an expedition, because after all, this is an expedition.
Yeah, yeah. So Atlas Ocean Voyages, 3 yachts at the moment, expanding to 6, understated luxury, fantastic cuisine, and some absolutely phenomenal destinations that you're exploring over the course of the next few years. So that's great. If there was another destination other than Antarctica,
now you're asking. In fact, yes, obviously with the future plans in place, we are looking at new destinations. My favourites would be the Far East, South Pacific, and around Australia, New Zealand, I have to say. I think those for me would sort of, it covers off that part of the world, which I haven't done the South Pacific before. I've done a bit of Australia, but I haven't done New Zealand. So not that I'm trying to influence the itinerary planning, of course, but yes, those would certainly be high for me. And the Far East in particular, some of those smaller areas that you can get into with a ship of this size would lend to some fantastic itineraries.
Yeah, and there might be no penguins in the Arctic, but there's plenty of polar bears. So what about the Arctic?
Well,
And it's
yes.
not too far away either. It's only a 3 or 4 hours flight, isn't it, to the
That's
Arctic?
right. It is. And when we go to Longyearbyen, we actually do an included free private jet charter from Oslo.
Oh, right,
So the guests
okay.
will fly into Oslo, overnight in Oslo, and then fly the next day up to Longyearbyen, jump on board. We go up around the Svalbard area, and there's a myriad of wildlife, and the scenery as well is absolutely stunning. And again, the way that the smaller ships can get into some of the smaller areas and smaller places around the Arctic, it really does make it something of a different experience because you're able to get really close to everything.
Okay. So Atlas Ocean Voyages, expanding fleet, fantastic cuisine, understated luxury, and some great value fares as well. So Bernie, thanks very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure, James, and thank you all. See you all soon.